All right, I'm back. I finished Dressrosa technically almost a week ago. I just wasn't able to film, but it has been absolutely fantastic. Doflamingo is a wonderful villain. We are introduced to so many cool things that's going to happen in the future, and I've gotten so many theories of what could happen and the possibilities that I don't know whether or not One Piece is going to explore in terms of like political stuff. And I don't know if I'm considering it because if this was just a regular shonen anime or manga, I don't think they would look into it further, but it is Oda, and I'm wondering about little things that we'll get into later. Just like Fishman Island, the treasury's been looted. And here we have the old king back on the throne. He's wondering if they're really ready for a peaceful king. And I'm just thinking back to like some George R. R. Martin stuff and that and House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. And I'm just like, these things were a big deal in his writing. I wonder if Oda will explore these topics, and we'll talk about that later. So we're going to jump right into after Law's flashback, where after we've learned his backstory, and now he's revealed to Doflamingo that he is also a member of this Will of D, has D in his name. It's not just Luffy, I'm here to defeat you. This is like divine destiny might have drawn me here, or it could just been the fact that you killed the man who raised me or took care of me and cared about my life and saved my life. So now I'm going to kill you, and I'm not going to hesitate to pull the trigger the way that your own brother did. And that is an absolutely fantastic, fantastic fight. I love seeing Law give everything he can to take down this Doflamingo guy, and it just not being enough between the marionettes and all his planning in like making a giant room around the area so large that it sacrifices moments of his life so that Doflamingo and Treble Guy can't see the border of it. They don't know they're in the room, and using that ability to use his severed arm, because Doflamingo apparently loves ripping off body parts. He lost his arm and used the room ability to use it to stab Treble to take him down, and all this happening. Stabbing Doflamingo with that knife that penetrates like his internal organs, only for him to use his string ability to stitch himself up. And it was incredible. This was a fantastic fight. I loved it so very much. And when La is down and Dofi's about to like stomp his face out, Luffy comes in and with his sandals stops the attack, and it was brilliant. And now I know why people were upset with the One Piece poster and he's not in his flip-flops, the live action one. I didn't think it was that big a deal. Just, you know, save some money on the CGI budget, safety, blah, blah, blah. What's the big deal if we change him out of his sandals? No, he needs to be wearing those. So if that live action adaptation makes it to Dressrosa, which it might not, he had better be in his flip-flops by that point. So I need that. I need this moment more than anything. For the majority of the fight between Law and Doflamingo, Luffy was down under the palace plateau thing, fighting Bellamy. And I need to talk about Bellamy because I did not expect to love the inclusion of this character and the possibility of where it's going to go. So Bellamy has accepted the fact that he was an idiot in following Doflamingo. That he put his trust and faith in the wrong man. He originally was introduced as someone who was mocking Luffy for having a dream in general. And then after Luffy left, after Luffy just beat him to a bloody pulp, he goes off to Sky Island and realizes that Luffy's dream of going into the sky was not crazy. He comes back with the Golden Tower thing. He's going back to Doflamingo, though, it's like he put all his faith in this man who was terrible to him rather than putting the effort into finding a dream of his own. And now that he realizes, he flat out says, I chose the wrong person, and is more sort of idolizing Luffy a bit now. Instead of turning around and betraying Doflamingo like I expected him to, he doubles down. It's like, I was a fool from the beginning, I might as well see this through to the end. And I'm like, okay, that's a choice. It's not a choice I would make, but because I don't know if I'm fickle, but if my mind gets changed, I'm just going to flip sides like that. That's fine. But I appreciate this different type of characters. Like, was it in for a penny, in for a pound, or something like that? Or in for a pinch, in for a pound, however that saying goes. And he fights Luffy with all he's got, as if his new dream or reason for existing and living is to die by someone who he respects hands, in this case, Luffy. And I really love that. And of course, he gives it his all. Luffy is able to take him down, knock him out so he'll live. And I want to see where he goes from here. Now that, at the end, obviously, Doflamingo's defeated, and he has nothing left. He has no dream. He has no person to follow. He's more hesitant. He doesn't join in with Luffy and the I Love Luffy club. So I want to see what decisions he's going to make for himself going forward. I did not expect to be so excited to see what is going to happen with Bellamy and his storyline. So Luffy goes back up and saves Law with the amazing sandal stop thing. And we get a fight there. He gets held up by the gunk, slime, explosion stuff from Treble. And Law sets something on fire. There's an explosion. They all get thrown off. And Luffy tells, who is it? I think it's Robin and guy whose name sounds like Cavendish, to get Law out of there, get him and get everyone to safety while he finishes this fight with Doflamingo. And Law pretty much tells the Cabbage, I'm just gonna call him Cabbage, like, this has been my life's goal to take down Doflamingo. I failed this. I'm the reason Luffy is here, reason he's fighting and involved. I'm not going to leave. There's no point. If Luffy wins, I want to see Doflamingo fall, and if Luffy loses, there's no point. I'm going to die beside him. And Cabbage is just more like, all right, honorable request. I'm going to stand in front of you because I promised to protect you, so if you die, it's going to be after me. And that is just perfect. And of course, the wonderful angel that is Robin is just like, you're giving yourself too much credit. Luffy's here because he chooses to be. But sure, you can hang on. We're gonna go. And previously, we also had, down at the flower field, you had Rebecca and her father fighting the guy who killed her mother. And it was a really good fight. And again, I appreciate that Oda is writing characters that I would not have thought of. So I wanted to see them fight together because she is trained, she's in battle, she's been in the Coliseum all this time. Attack the one who killed her mother. Do it. But instead, we have everyone protecting her and keeping her out of the fight. And I almost want to criticize this, except I can't because it was so purposely planned. So her father is so bent on, my duty is to protect you, and the only way I could do it as a toy was to get you to defend yourself, but I hate the idea of your hands getting bloody. So he was so happy that she would never fight with attacking. It was always dodging and kind of knocking people off the arena or just outlasting them. She never actually fought physically to hurt them, so her hands were never really stained with blood in his metaphorical sense. So now he's just like, I will be the one to defend you, and he's attacking, and there's spikes raining from the sky, and he's able to dodge around it, and the buddy's just like, what, can you walk through the rain without getting wet? How the hell? But one of them gets him in the legs, he falls, and he still keeps plowing through. Robin's there with her hands holding the flowers up to keep everything off them and to protect Rebecca, and seeing that guy who killed the mother fall was of course fantastic. Again, I would have preferred them fight together, but I appreciate what Oda was doing with like a father's love to protect his daughter. The idea of him feeling his hands are unclean and willing to take the assaults and bloodshed in order to keep his family protected from that violent side. I loved Zoro's fight against Pica so very much, and not just because it gave me a one little second flashback of My Darling Love Mihawk. So he's fighting the sandstone man, and eventually he realized, Pica was like, well, I'm not having much luck against Zoro. Let me go attack the king and everyone on that plateau, and people who can't defend themselves, because clearly this guy with the 3 swords is terrifying, which is fair. So Zoro is trying to run to catch up to him, and he finds that guy with a one-punch destruction thing, and tells him, like, no, don't waste your one punch on him, because it's not going to be any good unless you can destroy the body. And it's like, okay, well, what's the plan? It's like, well, first I got to catch up to him. So he's running. All right, I got a plan. I can shout for everyone to get off the plateau. No, I'm too far away. They're not going to hear me. I can do this. Oh, no, that's not going to work. I can do this. No, that's not going to work. Keeps coming up with a crazier idea. And then he's like, you know what? The only way for me to catch up to him is for me to fly up there. So guy who can throw things like cannonballs, throw me. And he's just like, you know, this doesn't really intend for the safety of the person being thrown. And Zoro's just like, I don't care. Go. So throw Zoro, 3 sword styles, slashes up Pica's body, paying attention to which section that he's chopped off the main body is in, so he can keep cutting him into smaller pieces until the main body got no piece left to hide in. And so long as he's up in the air, he can't transfer into the ground. So when it's in a small enough piece, the main body gets out and Zoro can take him out, and it's wonderful. And then you get the line of Mihawk, my darling love, saying like any sword can become a black sword like his if it's infused with haki, and that the haki can protect the sword and you shouldn't allow any nicks or scratches. I think there was a panel of him saying, hey, have you ever broken a sword before? And Zoro will be like, maybe 1 or 2, and he definitely has. Now that I think about that might have actually been the filler episode that I've seen where he was always breaking a bunch of swords, but anyhow. But I love that, and Zoro's examining his swords, and it's just like not even a single nick. He's praising himself for doing a good job. It was wonderful. And then the One Punch Man guy, King Punch whatever, is annoyed with Zoro because you used me basically for cleanup duty, because when all the giant pieces were falling down, he used the punch to like scatter it all away. So no one got hurt, and it was just perfect. Loved it. Completely taking me off guard, I loved Baby 5. So when we first introduced to her, she was trying to kill Doflamingo. I thought she was an assassin sent undercover to try to attack him, which clearly was wrong. She's always been part of the family. She was just annoyed at him for, I think, killing the guy who she thought loved her because she was useful to him, and her whole thing with being useful immediately would do anything for them. And then Dofi just being like, no. So then, of course, she goes to Punk Hazard, has the fight there, and I'm like, okay, not the most fun character. She's just cares about pleasing others. Cool. She can transform body parts into weapons. Potential to be an interesting, cool character, but it felt very shallow and like a gag for me. Like, oh, you need me. I'm useful to you. I will now devote myself to you. I could see that getting annoying quickly. I love this woman. So what happens is Sai, who is the grandson of the guy who previously hated Gart with the cone head, was saying something during their attacks, and she was misinterpreting it as oh, you want me to do this? I'll be useful if I do this. And he keeps getting more and more annoyed because, hey, you're the enemy. Why are you acting like this? And she's just like, well, what do you want from me? And he's just like, well, I want for you to die. And she's like, okay, I'll kill myself. And she pulls that gun to her head, and Sai is just like, what the hell, stop this. And he protects her. And pretty much she's like, I'm just trying to be useful to you. And him saying, and you've never been around people or raised by people to tell you to stop this? Have your family not told you that you're useful, that you're loved? Why would they allow you to keep doing this? Why wouldn't they tell you that this kind of thinking is wrong? And we get her one little flashback to being left alone in the woods because just another mouth to feed. It'll be years till you're useful. What, you're harm, you're worthless to society. We don't need you. We don't want you. And her turning to her mother and being like, even you, mama, don't you think I'm useful? Don't you need me? And her mother turning her back on her, and then that psychology there, and I'm just like, I love Baby 5. And him saying, and Sai saying, like, if I defeat this person, then I'm going to cast aside this arranged marriage that I'm in that I don't want, and I'm going to marry Baby 5. I'm going to see that she has a good life. And he wins, and he fights his grandfather and earns his respect. And him and Baby 5 are now together, and I'm like, that is so sweet. I am so happy for them. I did not expect to love them. Bartolomeo, my darling, sweet baby boy darling love, who is obsessed with the Straw Hats. I absolutely adored seeing his fight. So his barrier powers. So at first he's just like behind the barrier being like, yeah, da, da, yep, I'll take all these explosions. You're not getting past me. I'm going to protect Miss Robin. She's going up the cliff back when she needed to get up to Rebecca. And Cabbage Guy, before they got up to get La out of there, is like, he's going to blow me up, let me in. And he's just like, why should I? And they're just bickering back and forth. And seeing Cabbage Guy on the offensive attacking the guy who's blowing everything up. And Bartolomeo just being behind the barrier, acting as defense and protecting Robin was great, but then when they kind of switch places, so Cabbage goes into his alter ego form and starts attacking everybody, and then almost getting to Robin, but Robin, of course, can defend herself. But the guy who can blow everything up is threatening to destroy the cliff that they're on, no way to protect them, so Bartolomeo puts the barrier around him and them, and he's fighting with like a barrier around his fist and just punching him and stabbing him, and like going on the offensive, whereas the Cabbage in his half transformed form goes on the defensive to get Robin up to the top. I love their dynamic. I love how they bicker. I love their powers. I love them. So that was fantastic. Outside the Smile Factory, Franky is fighting Senor Pink, and I didn't talk at all about Senor Pink yet. So, starting from the beginning, he's introduced as this weird-looking guy in a baby costume with a pacifier and a bunch of women around him saying, oh god, he's so hard-boiled, we love him. And I'm just like, what the hell is Oda doing? And once again, trust Oda. Always trust Oda because I love this man. First of all, it's so ridiculous and over the top, it's hilarious, and he's not being misogynistic annoying, so I'm fine with it. Franky and him are fighting, and at one point in time, Franky's like, hey, look, an elderly woman who needs assistance, and it results in him going to look for her, giving him time to get inside and resulting in Franky being able to get in to rescue the dwarves / little peoples / fairies, and then him coming back in, there was no one there. They're fighting continuously as if we're not going to dodge punches. We're going to do this the manly way and just continue to take the hits, and last one standing wins. You get Senor Pink being like, I know your back is still human where the front of you is cyborg, so I'm going to target that, and Franky taking the hits but being the last one standing, and Senor Pink calling out someone's name, and it getting a flashback of him who fell in love with this woman who wanted nothing to do with pirates. So he didn't want to lose her, so told her that he was a banker, and they got married, they had a child, he's in love, he's happy while he's also doing his pirate business, and her end up losing their son. So the son passes, and she calls the bank being like, I need to tell the father, only to find out that he doesn't work there. They get into a fight. She runs off. There's, I think, a mudslide. She's in more or less a comatose state, and she's not showing any emotions. And the only time he can get her to smile is when he dresses up in the baby costume, and their son's, I think, outfit, or at least a adult-size interpretation of it. And that was the only time he could get her to smile, so he continues to wear it. And it's so sweet. I love this man. And Franky being just like, I don't know your backstory, but why don't one of these days when you've recovered, we share a drink and you can tell me about this name that you had said, who's, I didn't write it down, I'm sorry. And it's just nice, and I love it. You get the dwarves going and saving the princess Mancherry, and we learn about her healing powers, which come into great effect and purpose later on. Going back with Doflamingo, we have a memory of is it Trebles? That guy having a memory of first seeing Dofi with the Conqueror's haki and giving him the devil fruit and a gun and kind of just egging him on to being the monster that he turned into, but also saying like he's destined to be king. And that, again, led me to think of the Conqueror's haki being something with royalty and power. There's something there, and it might be genetic. Not everyone has it. Clearly, it's very rare. Divine destiny to inherit it kind of thing. Maybe something like that going on. Versus the Will of D, which is supposed to be, apparently, according to some legends, the defiance and enemies of the gods. So it seems like the Will of D people should be fighting against or antagonistic with the Conqueror's haki, whoever has that. But the fact that Luffy has both, so the joining of the two could symbolize something, whether that be a coming together of these two antagonistic forces, or the fact that you need both to take down one or the other. I don't really know, and I need to make a list of everyone who has Conqueror's Haki, everyone who is in the Will of D, and the overlap between the two. So that is on my list of things I need to do, because I can't 100% remember if Law has Conqueror's Haki off the top of my head right now. But like I know Boa has Conqueror's Haki. Shanks has Conqueror's Haki, but neither him or Boa has the Will of D. So I want to know how much overlap there is on these characters. Garp, I believe, has Conqueror's Haki. I would assume. See, I need to make a list. When did I see these things? Moving on. All right, so Luffy is fighting Doflamingo. La has gotten more or less to a safe location, and the bird cage is closing in. It is slicing everything and everyone to pieces that can't get away. If they couldn't get away, we'll get to that. And Luffy is just like, you're suffocating. You're controlling. You're suffocating me. You in this bird cage, you're hurting my friends, and I'm tired of it. And the rage of this man. And then you get my heart and soul reacted to him saying this. Gear 4. And it was glorious. He transforms, he's massive, dark eyes, it's like full-on force of the haki all inside of him to use this. And he has like the elasticity of the rubber so he can take the punches, but he's stronger, and we get a little bit on how he used it to fight the larger animals back on Boa's Island. And it's glorious. It's just glorious. I love it. There was a comment, I remember someone asking like what you think of the design of it, because I can see how it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing design. I grew up watching Dragon Ball GT and Super Saiyan 4. This is nothing. It is lovely. The fight continues. Dofi thinks it's ridiculous and there's no way this little upgrade is going to be enough to take him out. And then he gets punched in the face and thrown across Dressrosa, taking out a full-on building. And he's like, oh damn, I'm in trouble. So he uses the awakening of a devil fruit. I don't have a sweet clue what this is, other than apparently the ultimate transformation and effect of the devil fruit, as everything turns to strings and is going after Luffy, and it's still not enough because Luffy in Gear 4 is glorious, and I love it. And he's got Doofy on the ropes, punches him once again into a building, knocks him out. He is down. But he's not sadly out. The bird cage is still up, and Luffy can't use Gear 4 any longer. He crashes, and it's, I believe, the announcer guy from the Coliseum who's just like, what can we do? We're here to fight. We're sorry for trying to kidnap you and give you over to Doflamingo earlier. We thought you were going to lose. Now that we know you're not, let us help you. And Luffy's just like, I need 10 minutes. 10 minutes to recover, then I can use Gear 4 again, and I can end this. I promise you I will end this. And they're like, 10 minutes. We will buy you 10 minutes. So they take him, and they run. And everyone else go up against Doflamingo to slow him down as he's coming back around. And it's a slaughter. They know they have no hope. They're just buying seconds. Meanwhile, Birdcage is closing in. It's not stopping. It's not enough time. The injured, the sick, they can't get away. The king is on a megaphone going, listen, Luffy is fighting Doflamingo. We just have to survive until he takes him down. Take the injured, work together. Do not let one person die during this attack. We can do this. And Mancherry, the princess, is with the dandelions flying down and healing people, giving them the strength to keep going. They're carrying the injured. They're running. They're getting away from the edges of the bird cage. All while Luffy was fighting Doflamingo and now needs just a little bit more time to recover, but there's not enough time. The countdown is on. It's like Luffy needs like 5 more minutes to recover, but there's only like 3 or 4 more minutes before the bird cage completely closes and kills everybody. Zoro is just like, screw that, let's hold back this bird cage. I'm going to use my haki swords to push against it, to slow it down, to stop it from moving. And everyone else is just like, that's stupid, you can't do that. Says who? I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. I'm going to push on this bird cage. So Zoro goes and does that. And they're like, well, we got nothing else, let's go do that. So Zoro and his group are pushing on the bird cage. Franky is just like, that factory is made of sea prism stone. It can't get cut up. Let's push on the factory. Bartolomeo is just like, I got a barrier. It's not cutting through my barrier. Let's push on the barrier. And the citizens all coming together to push on the birdcage to buy minutes for Luffy to recover. The announcer guy on the radio, revealing that Lucy was Luffy all this time, shocker, and that he is going to fight Doflamingo. He promises a one-hit KO. We just have to buy him that 10 minutes, and now it's however much time, and he's counting down, rallying the citizens, calling for Luffy, pushing on the birdcage, buying them that time that they need, and it is wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anytime, like in Sky Island, where they were praying for, not to a god, but cheering for Luffy to come save us. In Fishman Island, when they're begging Luffy to come save them. And now here, the people just putting all their trust and love and faith in Luffy. And it's coming around. I love it so very much. These are my favorite moments in One Piece. When the people are coming together and working together or calling for Luffy. It is great. I loved it so very much. Viola, who is a standout character for me, I love her so very much, goes and to Doofy, again, buying Luffy time as everyone else has been slaughtered. It's just like, I was part of your family for a time. How can I not try to stop you now? And he takes control of her and takes control of Rebecca and is going to have Rebecca kill her. And it's just like, Viola's like, close your eyes. I don't want you to have this memory. This isn't you. I will not blame you. This is not your fault. Do not hold 1 second of regret or anger or hatred or in your heart for this. And then they're counting down 3, 2, 1. Viola's about to be killed. Luffy comes in, takes the hit, sword snaps, everything's back. He activates Gear 4 again. Doofy's just like, it's not enough. And of course it is, because when it's Doofy's power versus Luffy's, they come together, they clash, and Luffy comes out on top. Seeing Doflamingo's sunglasses break, oh, it was beautiful. And everyone is still pushing on that cage, not knowing whether or not it's over, and the cage coming down. Oh my god, I loved it so much. I loved this ending, following climactic part of the arc. Oh, it was so good. We previously had Sabo again, so he was fighting the guy from Blackbeard's group who was after Luffy. And now, okay, I don't have a sweet clue how Blackbeard stole my sweet darling love Whitebeard's fruit and power, and I hate him for it. But there was also a line saying that he still wants the flame fruit, and he was going to find a way, and he was going to take it from Sabo. So I don't know if that means the guy on Whitebeard's ship personally had a way to take the power, or if he was going to kidnap him, bring him to Blackbeard to take the power, or if he was just going to kill him and have it regrow somewhere in the world, and they had a way to find it and get it. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure there's some way that they're after devil fruits, and possibly devil fruit users to take their powers and give to their own members of the ship. I don't really know, but there's something going on there with the devil fruits. We also have evidence that this man is an idiot, because even after Sabo destroys him, because he is terrifying in a fight, and I love him, Sabo was going to walk away. He was going to spare this man. And this idiot decides to insult Ace. And Sabo reacts accordingly, and Flame Fruit butchers this man. As he rightfully should. And then he goes off because the Revolution Resistance people are after the guns and weapons that Doflamingo had, because CP0, I think, is on the way. And we get Lucci later on. But he's here, and I didn't realize how much I loved him as a villain, because I'm so excited to see him back. I still hate this man. He hurt Robin. He betrayed people. He's got no emotions. He's a complete psychopath. But I think he might be in my, top 5 favorite villains. So, very excited to see him returning. Fujitora has one of the other admirals, or vice admirals, I think it's vice admiral, obviously, make an announcement to the world to say what happened here, and basically the military's failure in supporting Doflamingo and the destruction of Dressrosa and everything that's happened, and takes responsibility, going so far as to kneel in front of the king, all of them, apologizing and taking accountability. Basically, what should have happened in Alabasta, but didn't. So he's not giving the government the opportunity to sweep this under the rug, to blame anyone or pass the praise away from the Straw Hats onto someone else, because he's seen that happen with Smoker. Side note, I haven't had the chance to do, well, I looked, but I couldn't really find it, but it's revealed that when Smoker was going to get an accommodation and an advancement in rank in recognition for taking down Crocodile, Fujitora was there in the background, so Smoker was saying, no, I didn't do this, it was the Straw Hats, why are you kind of giving me the blame, or the credits? You're not taking accountability, and Fujitora was not going to allow that to happen again. So he also gets called out by Magma Bastard for this, and they get into an argument, and he's not allowed back on a Navy base until he takes in Law and Straw Hat Luffy, to which he responds, sure, yeah, I'm still in the Navy, I'll hunt the pirates, but let's let the dice decide that. So he rolls a dice. Anything other than a 1, Straw Hats go free. If it rolls a 1, then I gotta go after the Straw Hats. And I think it's 3 days in a row, it comes up in the Straw Hats' favor. And it's just like, how much is he manipulating the dice, and how much are the Straw Hats just lucky? I'm going with he was manipulating the dice. So I loved seeing the military being forced to take accountability for what happened here. And we know that Fujitora's end goal is the dismantling of the structure of the warlords in general. He doesn't want them to have any kind of power and relationship with the military. So I'm excited to see where that goes. All right, let's talk about the political thing, because the people want their old king back on the throne. And he's very repeatedly said, I don't know if this is the best choice. Like, are you ready for a peaceful king? Can I still be a good king? And it just really, really, really reminds me, for some reason, when George R. R. Martin was talking about, like, Lord of the Rings, it's not enough for a good man to be king. Because you got the bad things in the world, and you can't always make the good choices. So I'm interested to see, will having someone who only wants peace be able to handle a world now going to be thrown into war, and what kind of difficult decisions need to be made to protect himself and his people and the world at large? Will he be conquered by someone else? What happens when political issues put pressure on Dressrosa? And then, same thing I was talking about in Fishman Island, the treasury has pretty much been completely looted, and now pretty much most of it's gone to Big Mom. But I don't want to give any type of spoilers for House of the Dragon, but there is a moment that involves the treasury that is detrimental to one of the two teams that play between the Blacks and the Greens. And the idea, after reading Fishman Island around the same time that I was reading Fire and Blood, and hearing the treasury's been looted, my heart dropped for this nation and this kingdom, because that is bad. That means increase in taxes, which means people will be angry. And I don't know if Oda is going to explore these kind of political things, or if it can be brushed aside as, we now have a good ruler in place. Hey, we don't care. We don't need treasure and hoarding money and all that. We're happy, we're content, we're safe. Or if it'll go, hey, this isn't enough to exist in the world. Bad things will happen. We need money to survive and the economy and to get things done and to fix things. I don't know what Oda's going to do, and if it's going to go into that deeper level. And I can't really go into what the fallout is without spoiling things that happened in Song of Ice and Fire. So I'm just interested if it's going to be played off as nothing, or if it's going to come back around. And then we get a lot of little moments. So we have Kid and his allies revealing that they're going after Shanks. Good luck to them. We learn that Kaido has a habit of trying to commit suicide because he's can't die. He's been tried to execute it, or sentenced to execution a bunch of times. He's thrown himself from Sky Islands, and he's just not dying. So that's a thing. And I I'm not sure what's going to happen when they have to fight him. Sabo shows up at Kyros, Rebecca's father's house, to see Luffy while he's sleeping, but reveals like he has to get out of there because CP0 is coming. And then he also reveals that he had amnesia, so yeah, okay. I was thinking like all this time, why hasn't he come and revealed himself to still be alive? Why didn't he show up with Ace? Yeah, I just had assumed it was because he was in like the new world fighting and training with Dragon and just always thought there would be more time, always intended to go. And I was kind of looking forward to some flashbacks of him showing up like just missing either Luffy or Ace and like being there for like the fallout of a battle, but they had already left, and just talking to the townspeople is like, oh, I'll catch them later. Something else has come up that I need to take care of with the revolution, but I'll catch up with them later. Only for it to be revealed to be amnesia, so I don't overly like that little bit of a cop-out where it's just like his memory all came back all at once at the reveal of Ace's death and him grieving so harshly there, and that being the trigger to bring back all his memories. But it is what it is. It works as can be for the plot. It's really the only explanation that makes sense for why he didn't at least send a letter. Guys, I'm alive. So I'm going to have to be fine with that. Kyros has put out a rumor that Rebecca's real father was actually a prince that her mother had ran off with, so the bloodline is still pure. Like, she's got noble blood on both sides. And I have a comment about this. So, the people were revealed to always know that Rebecca's mother and Kyros had ran off together and were living among them in secret, and it was just an open secret. No one talked about it. They were fine with it. But the pressure for nobility to, I guess, quote unquote, remain pure was so high that they're like, we understand why you have to be off in secret, so we're just not going to bring it up. And then later on, it's like, oh, yeah, we know that she went off with her father, and I'll get to the backstory there in a minute. But it's just like, we're completely fine with it. So why can't she still be the princess? Why can't they live in the castle with her family? Why do they still have to have this open secret? I don't know, just like politically and culturally and something, they're still upholding the idea that nobility is separate, and once you intermix with the common folks, you're less worthy, even though they're accepting it. But they're still not going to allow her to be the princess. If she wants to be with her father, she has to stay, quote unquote, in hiding, even though everyone knows and is fine with it, which is a thing that I want explored. I want something to come about where the people are just like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but it feels like there's something there with nobility and bloodlines that needs to be addressed. So what happens was Kyros said all this, and Luffy is just like, well, that's stupid. Goes to the palace, sees her in her sees Rebecca being all princessy, and it's just like, are you happy? And she's just like, no, why doesn't he want to live with me? Why is he sending me away? Why is he telling these lies? Luffy's just like, I don't know, don't care. Question him, because the Navy is now after me. My number came up with the dice, so they're attacking me. So, do you want to go to your father? She's just like, yes. Turns to Viola and is just like, you be the princess for me, because I can't. I want to be with my father, because for whatever reason, the bloodline needs to remain pure. So she wants to go with with her father. She can't be the princess because she doesn't have pure blood on both sides. I don't know. So Luffy is running. The people are pretending to believe that he has kidnapped her and is chasing after them. She gets with the father, and they get to live together and be happy. And the people chase into the dock, which is good because Fujitora was about to crush all the Straw Hats and their allies under all this rubble, but now he can't because there's so many civilians pretending to chase after them, and they all get away. And then the most wonderful thing happens. They're on a big, glorious, beautiful boat, and the allies that they've made from the Colosseum and here on Dressrosa are just like, we want to make the Straw Hat Fleet. We are going to join you and be loyal to you. You will be our captain, the big boss father. We are the sons. You drink from the big cup. We drink from the little ones. It's a ceremony, and it's wonderful. You will have an armada 1,000 strong. It will be something that the warlords and emperors of the sea would be hesitant to go up against. And Luffy is just like, nope, don't want to. You'll cramp my style. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's just like, I want to be free. I want to sail around with my friends. I want to be the pirate king. And that's all I want. I don't want to command and lead anybody. And everyone's just like, yeah, we get it. You just want to be free. Well, in our freedom, we're going to choose to follow you no matter what you say. And I love this because so many times Luffy, in his quote-unquote selfishness, has been like, I want you on my crew. I'm not letting you say no. You're joining my crew. You want to leave my crew? No, you're not allowed to leave my crew. You're coming back. You want to die for me? You're not allowed to die for me. Come on. So he's like always forcing his decision and free will on everyone else. And now everyone else is just like, we have free will. We're going to follow you whether or not you want us to. So they drink from the cups. They have their ceremony. They are the Straw Hat Fleet, and they promise to come to him if they are ever a time when Luffy needs them. They will be ready to fight for him, and they will follow him. And they have a party, and they're happy, and they all take a piece of the I need to look up an actual someone saying this. I'm going to call it the life card. Takes a piece of the life card, and we go from there. Bellamy also takes a piece, but he's not swearing his loyalty to Luffy quite yet. He's just kind of keeping his options open, and I'm really excited to see what he does. We had a moment where, before they all took off, that Law spent with Sengoku, and Sengoku being just like, the only person I can talk about KUZAN with is a pirate, which sucks, but I'm not going to arrest you. Because I raised this man as my son, and he cared for you and wanted you to be free. You've avenged him, so take care of yourself, be free. And Law respecting that, and he's asking about the Willa D, but Sengoku's just brushing him off, and I want them to interact more, because they should. And what else? Oh, God almighty. Akiji. Akiji is back on my list. He had better have a good explanation and a plan. I'm so close to cursing. I don't curse. So he has joined up with the Blackbeard pirates. What the actual hell? Back on my list. KUZAN. Seriously. Like, why is he with the Blackbeard pirates? Why? I realized this was kind of mentioned in the Coliseum thing with the phone, but I was just like, no, that's not official. Something else. They're not actually working together. He's actually with the Blackbeard pirates. What the actual hell? Okay. Then we get to Bartolomeo's boat, which is a cute little Straw Hat interpretation boat. Oh, it was wonderful. And they're all there, and they're going off to the next island to meet up with the rest of the Straw Hats, as well as Law's crew, and it's wonderful. They all get new bounties. And we get one specifically of Sanji, but unlike Want It Dead or Alive, it's only wanted alive. And I had a theory previously that people had said I was on the right track for, saying that back when it was just like a drawing of his picture, and I had said that maybe they're doing a drawing because people are after Sanji. Like, a lot of people are after Sanji, or a very important person with a lot of people under them. And for an actual photo, they would have, like, sent everybody. But because it was a drawing, they were only going to send out, like, a small group to scout it out. I was wrong about that. But I'm kind of thinking that there is someone after him. And Sanji knows something. He has some kind of information that this important person wants. And they don't want him dead because they need the information that he has. So they're going to send a bunch of people now after Sanji because they need whatever the hell information he has. So that's where I'm leaning with that. But it is interesting that they very obviously, like, pointed out flatly, like, want it only alive. Not dead or alive, just alive. So there's something there with Sanji. And we also got a little bit more fallout with Doflamingo being down, vacuum of power, people uprising, him being important with as an arms dealer, and wars going on, and now everything's going to go crazy where he's been taken down and another war is going to start. So we're set up, we're like really building for a climax leading to a war. I'm excited to see what happens next. Now I get to go read the next arc because I've been putting it off for a couple days because I don't want to read ahead before I make these videos. So I will talk to you later. I love this arc so very much. Can't put into words how much I love these characters and this world and what's being set up and what's to come. I will talk to you later. Bye. All right, so back for the questions and answers in the community tab. So, what do you think of Brook's speech during Fishman Island arc about the value of life? Context below. When Hodie's crew plans to flee the Noah crashing on Fishman Island, and they say to die and become a martyr such that their hatred of humanity will be passed on. Brook replies, now listen here. You've never actually died, have you? You say that your hatred remains even after death? Poppycock. Death leaves nothing behind. Every living thing leaves nothing but its bones. I absolutely detest those who refuse to treat life with the respect it deserves. So, to start, I'm going to say that Brook, it was very big on the values of life being like his music and what to happiness and all that, like joys in life, the joy in life, whereas these people want to leave hatred behind. And he's also talking about when you die, that's all there is. You don't bring that hatred with you, but I understand that they were talking about hatred being passed on to like the next generation. So I do like Brook's quote here, and the value of life is important. And I'm definitely comparing it to some quotes I've read before about death being the great equalizer, all are equal in death kind of thing. And I'm going to go with when you die, you're gone. So treat life with a purpose and don't waste it. Because even when he came back, he couldn't live his life because he was stuck on that ship because he didn't have his shadow. And that wasn't a life worth really living, completely isolated without love and family and friends and Laboon and completing his dream. So to treasure your life and not waste it in essentially suicide missions or to become a martyr. So I definitely want to see more of Brook and in general. Dressrosa, one of my favorite arcs, one of my favorite moments is at the end of Dressrosa. To put spoiler-free words, I'd like for you to talk about the agreement on a boat. You know what it is when you read it. So Baby 5 and SP's backstory are something I'd love to hear. Okay, I already talked about Baby 5. I love the agreement on the boat where it's, yeah, I already went into detail. Them just saying, we're going to follow you no matter what, and regardless of what you say, we're going to come to your aid if you need us. I loved Bellamy, like, also taking a piece of the life card. Yeah. I loved them partying and being happy, and Luffy realizing, oh, I can't make them do what I want. They're going to follow and respect me because I am worthy of being followed and respect. Doesn't matter, I don't want to boss them around. There's also big moments reveals, but they're a must, so I will not even hint at. Speaking of foreshadowing, some of my favorite in those arcs are not callbacks to something that has happened before, but things that are set up in the future and understanding both Punk Hazard and Dressrosa. There are things that will change your perspective massively on rereads. Okay, so note to self, this is going to be one that needs a reread. I'm going to reread One Piece from the beginning, but I'm going to start with Sky Island because I've been told that had a very big impact on lore, so I'll probably reread that one. Let me know if I should reread specific arcs first before I go back to the beginning and do a full read-through. What are your feelings with other supernovas shown in the post-war? And what do you think of their purpose, future, in the story? I don't know what's going to happen with them in the story. I'm looking forward to seeing Kid again, just because they worked together on Sabadi, and he seems crazy mass murdery. So I want to know if we're going to be allies or enemies, or both. I want to know what happened with the girl, Jewel Bonnie something, because she was last seen with Magma Bastard. We got an alliance going on with the tarot card guy that I like. And then Kaido randomly falls in front of them when they're off to try to kill Shanks. So I don't know what their role's going to be, but it does seem to be like the new generation overthrowing the old and the world that they'll create. And I do want to know what kind of world it will be. Regarding Robin, what is your thoughts on how much she has grown? My sweet darling girl, I love her so very much. Read the rest of the paragraph before I talk. I believe Punk Hazard is one of the arcs where we can mostly see just how much she has changed from the beginning, how much she trusts the crew 100% now, and it's signaled by her calling them by name. Agreed. The first time she ever called them by name, my heart just swelled and ached. I love it so very much. Side note before I continue reading the paragraph. Law was calling a lot of people by like titles as well. I think he was saying navigator. I don't remember if he said long nose or something like that. Maybe sniper. I'm not really sure what he said to them, but he definitely called Robin Nico a couple times. So I think she's got his respect in the sense that he's already calling her by name. And now she even partakes in nonsense antics while before she was mostly watching the sidelines. 100%. She's grown with the crew. I keep thinking back to Sky Islands where she was telling them to put out the bonfire, like they'll signal trouble, and they're just like, what, you've never had a party before? Join us. And like the joy of being with this crew and being around them, and it doesn't have to be strategical strategy purposes. It can just be for fun and love and bonding. And seeing her go along with all the antics and warning Luffy, like, hey, Law could betray you. That is a possibility. And him being like, well, I trust you guys. And he says he's not going to betray me, so it's going to be fine. And she just smiles along and is supportive of him. And she's just there, whatever you need, I have your back. And at the same time, she's allowed to go off on her own and search for the poneglyphs and do her research and her studies. And she's a very good supporting character and protective, and she can hold her own, obviously, in a fight, but she's also very good at supporting the other crew members. And she just fits in so well, and she's come so far, and I love her. This one's saying there's some folk tales in just Japanese folk tales that I should read. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce them, but to get more from the Fishman Island arc, so I'm going to have to do that. After the conclusion of Dressrosa arc, what do you think about the development of Usopp's character throughout the story so far? I'm loving Usopp's character. To go from a coward, facing what he's afraid of, the bravery that takes, becoming more powerful, his outlandish tales coming true, and then turning around to fight someone so much stronger than him, and being held up as a god. I am loving that. He is afraid, but he's doing what needs to be done. I love the development of his character. And the haki that he's tapped into. So observational haki to help him as a sniper. I can see that's being developed even more. And I'm so excited to see what he's going to be able to accomplish and do. Because that feat with Sugar the second time around, loved it. Also, Doflamingo versus Crocodile. Who's the best / worst villain in your opinion between these two? Okay, my love Crocodile saved Luffy and protected Ace, came around kind of to his side. So, he is the best. I don't trust this man. He's going to betray us. I'm excited to see his secret that he has with Iva. But Doflamingo has my favorite trope in the found family creating family, and someone had asked previously, do I think he actually loves his family and the people that his associates and executives, whatever? Yes and no. I think he loves the idea of having a loving family. I think he loves the idea of people surrounding him and thinking he's a good person and looking up to him. I think he loves the idea of being protected and having people he can lean on emotionally, especially all the trauma he's had in the past. But at the same time, I think he loves them for what they can do for him and how he can use and manipulate them and the drama that he enjoys causing. We know he was willing to sacrifice Monet and everyone on that island of Punk Hazard to stop them from getting away. We know that he wouldn't hesitate to kill anyone for his own well-being, but at the same time, he doesn't punish them for failure. He punishes them for betrayal. So the betrayal is what he hates. He doesn't love and respect them enough to put them above his own needs, but so long as he doesn't feel betrayed, he'll keep them around. And that complexity to his character, which I need to explore more of, and his positioning as both a warlord, an arms dealer, the vacuum of power that now needs to be taken up, he has the most interesting relevance to the plot. He also hurt my sweet darling babies, so he needs to die. He is the worst, but I think he is the most well written. But I'm also very excited to see what happens with Crocodile, and the reluctant ally is one of my favorite tropes. So I do want to see them kind of being forced to work together again, because I did not expect to love that as much as I did. Great arc, lots to discuss, references to real-world influences in One Piece. One Piece is fantastic at just drawing references and inspiration from real-life characters and political groups in general. What are your thoughts on the new admiral? What do you think of the relationship between their devil fruits and their personality? So our new admiral is Fujitora, and he's definitely got, it's the gravity manipulation pulling meteors from the sky. I'm not 100% sure if it was revealed in this arc that it's actually gravity and not like summoning meteors, or if I read that in the comment section, but I do know that's gravity manipulation, or I'm pretty sure I know that. I could be wrong for all I know. And so a pull, how does it relate to his personality? Because you're right, a lot of them do really tie into their personality. So Doflamingo being like the puppet master lying and manipulating people and influencing events around him works very well with his string powers. Luffy, I've always said, is like a Looney Tunes, and the rubber power allows him to just full creative freedom to express himself and do and become whatever he needs to do, and it just like his heart being rubber means it can't explode. His legs being able to pump the blood means it can have the power, and it just allows him the ability to express himself and be completely free and do and be whatever he wants while also being protective of those around him. It just fits with his personality. Also, ball of energy. Of course, he's like a rubber ball. But Fujitora, very respectful, I guess an unmovable force in his convictions to himself and his ideals. So I guess gravity itself is a constant force. So I can see him being very stern and convicted in his decisions. Being able to call in greater powers around him. He seems very respectful, and others respect him as well. So I am excited to see more of him and using his powers. And again, I can see him have been using his powers to manipulate those dice to get the outcome that he wants and waiting to strike at the moment he wanted, not what anyone else said. So, like, you can't argue with the concept of gravity. So, you're not arguing with this man either. He's very firm in his convictions. I can see that. I noticed, like, how Magma and Ice are enemies. We can also consider Light and Gravity as enemies, and we might get a showdown between them in the future. I can see that, for sure. Kizaru versus Fujitora. Yeah, I can see them having conflicting ideologies, because it would definitely be a good fight. I'm more interested in seeing Kizaru, though, fight Blackbeard in terms of dark versus light. But that being said, gravity versus darkness could also be a very good fight, because doesn't Blackbeard more or less create a void of sucking everything in and black holes, and gravity's an opposing or is a similar force to that, and you just have to see which one is stronger. So that's definitely something I'd like to see. What do you think of our new flame user? I'm loving Sabo so very much. His complete, utter loyalty to Luffy. And being just like, I will come when he calls me. If he is in trouble, I will be there. No hesitation. Also, I have an army to bring with me. I love how scary he is when he fights. He looks terrifying. And I love that he's still calling it Ace's Devil's Fruit and Ace's power. And the respect for that. Oh, I love this man so very much. No complaints. Was this a good place and a good way to bring him into the story? It definitely was. I really, really, really do like the idea of him coming to get Ace's Devil Fruit, so that was the perfect moment. I still don't like the amnesia kind of storylines, a little too plot convenience for me. I would have preferred my original idea of having some flashbacks where it's just like he always showed up a little too late because the resistance held him back. Like he had to do something for them in the revolutionaries, and which meant he got to Fishman Island late, or he got to Dressrosa late. Not Dressrosa, Alabasta or something like that, or even going looking for Whitebeard's ship but ending up on the wrong one, ended up on Division 1 instead of 2 or something like that, or Ace had already left to look for Blackbeard. Like, I would have liked for him to be actively trying to get to his brothers and get that into flashbacks and maybe seeing him interact with some townspeople, only for him to get called away on another mission. And it still doesn't explain it, because he still could have sent a letter and being like, hey, it's me, I'm alive. But maybe he just wanted to see them in person and have that big reveal, and he realized that he shouldn't have been putting this off. That should have been a priority. I don't know. I don't think I'm a fan of amnesia as a plot device. But I love Sabo. If this brought him in, I love it. It's fine. Any comments on Usopp and his connections to Nolan? I love that they look alike-ish. I love Nolan didn't lie. Neither is Usopp, because everything he's saying is coming true. I'm more excited for his connection with the Giants, but I definitely like the idea of him and Nolan having a connection as well. But for the time being, I don't have too much to say on it. This would be his second statue at a place of significance to Nolan, yeah. Lastly, there is just too much to discuss, which kind of bothers me starting this arc. Do you think that there's any way too many characters introduced? There were a lot of characters introduced, which will make this better on reread, because initially I didn't think all of the Coliseum fighters were going to play a role. I thought it would only be a handful. So the fact that everyone came back around was not what I expected at all, but I think it's just going to make it better on reread. And it gives more opportunities to seeing these characters later on as well. So if we're spreading out the Straw Hat fleet, we can more likely to run into them. So I like that. The core crew didn't get as much attention here as I would have liked. I completely understand that, but I kind of like the idea of expanding the world, not just the core crew. But I'll never make it longer. This is what people mean when they say One Piece isn't long enough. Include all this, all these other characters, but also give me more of the core crew, because that'd be great. Also, what do you think of Law after his betrayal of Luffy? I'm not picturing anything he did as a betrayal. He was acting to overthrow Doflamingo, because everything he's done in his life will be a extension of KUZAN and what he accomplished. So in KUZAN saving his life, Law needed to fulfill that promise to him. So even dismantling the alliance that they had, and that, no, not betrayal. He's just working for his own interest, but I'm not interpreting it as a betrayal. He cares for Luffy after everything that they've done. Alright, so this one's just mentioning that Magma Bastard's real name is, it's Magma Bastard. I don't know why we're calling him anything else, but it literally translates to the drinking cups. So both Luffy gained his brother through Sakazuki and lost his brother because of Magma Bastard, which real name translates to that, Sakazuki. Which is a very good parallel. That is really a good parallel. It's mean. I don't like it. I don't like Magma Bastard. I want him to die. Just makes me hate him more. It really does. What are your thoughts on Quolla's inclusion in the Revolutionaries and the whole faction as a whole? I am very excited to see where it goes, and the fact that it's a character that we've seen before and know our history of, very much enjoy it. As an aside, it always includes me that Alabasta or Dressrosa. Okay, similarities between Alabasta and Dressrosa. Focus heavily on a revolutionary armory separated from dragons, despite them having already been relevant for years at that point. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of similarities between them and the People's Uprising and revolts within the country. Post-Dressrosa question/theory. So we know now that a devil fruit can regrow when its user dies and allows a new person to gain that ability, plus Law's fruit can grant immortality at the cost of a user's life. Have you considered the possibility that there might be one or even several characters in the current timeline who are immortal because a previous user performed the operation on them. I would love to hear what your ideas, theories, you craft out of this regardless of the future endgame. I have thought of this. It was added into my Roger being the ultimate villain theory, which I need to work out the details of. But couple characters that I'm thinking. So I'm thinking I'm thinking someone on Roger's crew. I still think Roger is dead. I just think he's going to be resurrected and become the big bad villain and have something to do with the Pluton weapon. But I'm leaning towards someone on his crew was made immortal. There's always the possibility that Kaido was immortal because he's making a habit at suicide and he just can't kill himself. Perhaps one of the people from the Void 100-year missing timeline century is immortal, and then that information, they'll have the information of what happened there. I guess it'd be good to think about who would have had the fruit to begin with. Like, it was stolen by those pirates. Where did it, I feel like it said where they stole them from, so I'm gonna have to look that up. Like, how far away does it regrow? Is there a way we can narrow? Because if we narrow down who had it last, that had the possibility of making someone immortal, then that could be relevant. Also, like, when would you use an immortality thing? It's going to give your life. So you would probably use that right as you're about to die, maybe, to make someone else immortal to carry on. So during a war, or during a battle, someone was made to survive said battle. So I'm leaning towards the Void Century kind of thing. Someone was made immortal to pass along that knowledge. So that is definitely something I need to work on who it could be. My current crazy tinfoil hat theory plays into Roger being the ultimate big bad, and he had to make one of his crew members stay immortal. So Rayleigh's the biggest one that I can think of, but I don't really know about that. But it's definitely something that I need to think about. How do you feel about the many flashbacks in Dressrosa? I like flashbacks. I do. I like when they don't overstay their welcome, where they're really long and I want to get back to the main story. But these were the perfect amount in terms of length. Really love them. Agree. Do you have a top 3 flashbacks in this arc? Senior Pink, Law, Doofy, Rebecca, Kyros, Baby 5, and Vindan, Shinjo. Yeah, all of them. All of them. But Law's obviously was fantastic. Doofy because it really contextualized like the little psychopath he is and the reasons why, but he's always been like this way. And then also his brother's inclusion going through that with him, but he didn't turn into a psychopath. And Baby 5, just that snippet little second that recontextualized her entire character. Yeah, I love those 3 specifically. Senior Pink as well, just because it made so much sense for his outfit choice and him as a character. Yeah, no, they're all fantastic. There's one here. How do you feel about Sabo and his relationship with Ace and how they fundamentally changed each other? I think Ace regretted not being there for Sabo more, which is why I personally love Sabo's addition post-war arc. Yeah, so Ace had the regret of not going after Sabo when he had left, thinking he'd have a better life with the nobility and being rich and all that. And then hearing he died and they never got a chance to reconnect. And now they had such drastically different personalities. And Sabo's regret of losing his memory and not being there to protect Ace, only for him to get his devil fruit, inherit his will, and can carry on and protect each other using his powers. It's like they're together again in a sense, or still protecting one another, still protecting Luffy. It's wonderful. It's the perfect conclusion. Oh, yeah. I recently found out that the reason Sabo remembered Ace and Luffy wasn't just by seeing their faces due to mentioning of Luffy, Ace, and Sakazuki, Magma Bastard, in the article, the Sakazuki being like we talked about with the cups, and that triggered the memory of the cups with him. So really, Magma Bastard's name being inclusion was what probably triggered the full memory coming back. That works extremely well, yes, because yeah. Given the build up to why Law wanted to go after Doofy, and the slow hints revealed Law used to work with Doofy, Doofy killed someone that he loved, was there any explanations or predictions you have for that person? I did assume it was probably going to be like a girlfriend or something, or someone he's seen as a sibling, so I wasn't really expecting like a father-ish figure. I definitely wasn't expecting it to be Doofy's own brother. But I didn't have any firm enough opinions on what it could be to even mention it in any of the lead-up videos. When you got the eventual reveal of KUZAN and his past with Law, what do you think about it? So good. The fact that he went undercover and was really a Navy man and lying about being a Navy man and then apologizing for being a Navy man and Law being like, I don't care about that, just survive. And then now we have a history with Sengoku. And like the contrast between Doofy and KUZAN, definitely they both had the same upbringing, but are such drastically different people. Both went both went through similar traumas, but then were taken in by different people. That's true because Doofy went with the guy whose name starts with T and is all gross and snotty looking, whereas KUZAN went with Sengoku and the Navy and just better raising there. But you could tell Doofy was a complete psychopath even as a child. Taken in by different people and had different responses to Law and his situation. Yeah. Also, legit, I love Rocky a ton. He's one of my favorites. One Piece characters. I'm always really excited when people get to Law's past. Yeah. No, completely agree. Law's past was fantastic. I think I'm leaning towards getting the Law tattoo across from, I have Pain tattooed on one side, so I have Itachi on one leg, which I want Whitebeard across from. Incoming Naruto spoiler. So it'll be Itachi, who is like a man who would sacrifice his family to stop a war, whereas Whitebeard would be a man who would start a war to protect his family. And then below we have Pain, who would destroy the world to inflict the pain he had inflicted on himself as a child in his country onto everyone else in an attempt to make peace. Whereas Law was wanted to inflict pain on everyone as he was about to die and just wanted to take as many people down as he possibly could, turning himself into a doctor who can save and protect people and learn to love and call himself the Heart Pirates and protects now a Dressrosa because that's what KUZAN wanted to do, and he's upholding his will. So now we're protecting people rather than pushing more hatred and suffering into the world. So I like those parallels. I love tattoos. So I think I'm getting that done. Did you catch on to the themes of the arc being manipulation and misinformation? 100%. What do you think of Law's devil fruit? Absolutely love this devil fruit. Overpowered as hell. Cool as hell. I want to know who's immortal in this series and if he will use it himself. Before the reveal at the end of the arc, what do you think Law's plan was? It was pretty obvious leading up that he wanted Doflamingo taken down. We just weren't really sure why. And that the Kaido was a secondary issue and Kaido would come after Doofy. So I didn't really have too much before it was everything was like revealed on if he had any other plans. It was more like, okay, just don't betray Luffy because you saved him once and I don't want to hate you for betraying him later on. What did you think of the reveal that everyone in the gas hadn't died yet? Oh, this is for Punk Hazards. Yeah, gas guy. Yeah, no, little bit of a cop out, but it is still a children's shonen, not seinen anime. So the fact that all smokers people didn't die kind of fits with that theme of, hey, all this tragedy and horror we just watched and all these people dying, they're still fine. Kind of fits with the themes of the genre, I think, or the vibes of that genre. Yeah, okay, so then what I think Law's plans was back in Punk Hazard. I did just assume he was going after the Emperors of the Sea and was probably using Luffy for that end. What do you think of the different mythology being tied into One Piece more and more? Definitely enjoying the incorporation of other mythology. I want to see what happens when we get to Wano and the dragons and the samurais and Zoro's connections with the samurais, and that's all going to be great. Character analysis of Caesar as a villain. I'm going to go more into each villain individually once I'm caught up. I'm going to do full deep dive, so I'll think about it more clearly there, and also Punk Hazard's a little bit removed from my mind. this is the last hard Sanji arc, so don't worry. Good, I've been told, I think it's Cake Islands, maybe? I think the comment section has said, like, give it to there before you decide if you hate Sanji or not. I don't know. And then we're into that wanted alive moment, so I'm assuming soon we're going to get whoever is coming after him or whoever wants him, whatever I'm assuming he knows something. I'm assuming we're just going to get more into his character there. KUZAN. Screw you. I was happy about him because Punk Hazard, he comes and saves Smoker. Now he's working for Blackbeard. He better be a double agent. I trusted you. I took him off my list. Now he's back on my list. What do you think of the introduction of Momo and Kinemon? And where do you think these characters can go in the future with the story and the Straw Hats? And how do you enjoy their father-son dynamic? I like their father-son dynamic. That's all good. I like the fact that Momonosuke has eaten the artificial devil fruit. It ties us more into Vegapunk guy, mad scientist. And we talked about Wano having like closed borders, and I'm interested to see like why they left and what they're going back to, and just in general different vibes and cultures. So I'm definitely excited to see how they play into the story, and it's just expanding the world. Oda is fantastic at just each island and location having a completely different culture and world and exploring it. But as for what they're doing, I'm assuming they fled Wano for a reason, looking for something. Thoughts of Doflamingo as the embodiment of control and Luffy being the embodiment of freedom. That just puts it into words very, very well. Like, Doofy would have put everyone under his command and created a fleet of his own and forced everyone to worship him and idolize him and just build him up on a pedestal. Whereas Luffy is just like, I just want to sail. I want my friends. I want to be the pirate king. I want to be free. And everyone just being like, cool, well, you're not taking our free will. We're following you because we said so, whether you like it or not. And those differences and parallels work very well for this arc here. For context, Doofy's rule over Dressrosa is a microcosm and parallel scale down of the Celestial Dragons' rule and World Nobles' reign. Doofy has sugar to make people disappear. The country looks like a utopia, but it's actually a dystopia, and he rebranded himself as a pirate to a good king overnight through brute force and manipulative schemes. That just puts Doofy completely into perspective and summarizes him very well. And just, I like the outward appearance of being good and a ruler and noble and respected, but then the core of him is just controlling manipulative evil. Yeah. Sabo being alive, did you notice the foreshadowing 3 cups? Nope. Should have. I was set up to see it and I failed. Cover page, also what else? I talked about Sabo a lot. Love him. Love his design. Love his fighting. What can you say about Doflamingo now that you have finished his Rosa arc? Definitely a very nuanced villain. Again, the family dynamic that he has and what he wants. Like, he wants to be respected. He wants to be idolized. But that's not, like, he's not a good person. Yes. How do you feel about all the characters introduced in this arc? There's a lot. I'm looking forward to the reread. Some felt it slowed down the arc, but it was necessary. I do think it's necessary, especially if we're going to bring them back around and create the Straw Hat fleet. For future in story, Luffy having a fleet like other powerful pirates. Agreed. Okay, there's a little bit here on weren't sure if this comment section was for Dressrosa or for Punk Hazard. So for just one more clarity, the arc that I'm currently reading, I'm putting the questions for the next arc in, so you kind of get like 2 weeks to put in the any questions or comments. Check out Doflamingo and conversation. There's a line that Doflamingo says 5 or 6. Okay, conversation from chapter 504. I'm in 800. Why am I going back to 504? My God. Okay, 504. And conversation from Dofi, page 5 or 6. Okay, Sabri Archipelago. And we have the Dofi's symbol thing. This isn't a laughing matter. This is your shop. Mr. Doflamingo, where are you right now? The reputation of the store is at rock bottom, and knowing the Rosewell family, they'll find something to blame us for. You have to do something about this. Slave trading is getting old, idiot. This is the era of the smile. Don't you ever call me again, Disco. You can have that shop. I just gotta make sure I'm thinking of the right arc. So chapter 504 is in what section? Yeah. It is it's when they destroyed the slave trade thing in the first Sabadi acapella time we went there. So destroying the slave trade, Hussein's old news, so we're going with more war and weapons. If I go back the panel before, talking about 3 celestial dragons were taken hostage, not making demands, attacking the world nobles, don't have any choice but to go. Sengoku, Kizaru, right there. So that's when they sent the admirals because all of the stuff that Luffy and them were doing, and the Age of the Smile. So he's like saying we're going into wars, not slave trades. Yes, going into a new era. So Doofy got something planned. He's already saying the war's going to happen greater than Marineford, so that is on the way. Okay, if you had to eat one of these 3 somewhat useless devil fruits, which one would you choose? Okay, Buggy's fruit, Foxy's fruit, or Corazon's real name that I haven't tried to pronounce yet, and I'm not going to try it now. Fruit. So we have the cut up fruit, the slow down fruit, or the silent fruit. Buggy's fruit would probably be the most useful, so I wouldn't get chopped apart in the One Piece world, and I kind of just float around, and the running feet's kind of cool. Foxy is just terrible at using a really actually good fruit to slow everything down. And then the silent fruit, we've shown that it's good at espionage and sneaking into places, so I will take Corazon's fruit to silence, because if I was in the One Piece world, I'd want to be sneaky. I'd want no one to know I was there and get in and out of places, and I tend to be clumsy, so I'd want that to be pretty silent. Second, if you had to cosplay as one of these 3 characters, which would you choose? Bon Clay, Iva, or Senior Pink? Bon Clay is the correct answer, because wonderful. Third, if you had to decide between one of Franky's cybernetic implants, which one would you choose? Change your hairstyle by the press of your nose. That sounds like fun. The nipple flashlights or the tank tracks. I will take the changing the hairstyles by touching your nose, because I hate doing my hair. It is a pain, and for that to be automatic, I will take it. Okay, Sabo's back, hooray. What do you think about Sabo being raised by the Revolutionary Army? I assumed he was taken by Dragon, so that's not a surprise, but I was surprised him being the second in command. That was cool. That's true. He was essentially raised by Dragon, but couldn't raise Luffy for some reason. Why didn't Dragon just go and take Luffy and bring him to the Revolutionary Army to raise him to be his second in command? What was the reason that Dragon didn't take Luffy? Did Garp prevent Dragon from taking Luffy? What was stopping him? Did he knows about Luffy, I assume. He might not know he exists. Okay, now I got questions. Even though he seemed to have done well enough with training taking care of Sabo, at least compared to what Garp was doing. That's a very good question. Why didn't Dragon take Luffy to raise as his second? The ages are the same. Time frame's the same. Did Luffy say or do something as a kid that turned Dragon off? Like, I don't think this happened, but it's an explanation. You don't have the will that I'm looking for to train, whereas Sabo was like, expressed displeasure of the nobles and wanting to take them down, where maybe Luffy didn't have that viewpoint. So Dragon took him when the opportunity presented himself, given. Like, Luffy was safe, whereas Sabo was actively running away and didn't want to come back, expressed his disinterest in the nobles, didn't want to go back with his family. had amnesia, so Dragon just took this kid with him because he very actively did not want to go with his parents. But let's just assume Luffy said or did something that's like, you don't have the mind frame I want. And then Luffy changed in some way with his interactions with Ace and Sabo, with his interactions with Shanks. So before, he was very different. He was like stabbing himself in the eye, wanting to be brave and prove himself. Maybe a little showboaty, but still a crybaby. And he's just, I think it might be to show that Luffy has changed so much. Hard to say. There must have been a reason for why Dragon didn't take Luffy when he was obviously very capable of training someone who was exactly Luffy's age. So I'm going to assume Garp prevented it for some way. There are a lot of fans who actually dislike Sabo's reintroduction in the series. Who are these fans? I'm angry at them because he is glorious and he is loyal to Luffy. That is all I care about. If you're loyal to Luffy, I love you. Regardless of how much he is foreshadowed, the foreshadowing could have been a little better, but it was also pretty obvious that he was alive. Like that explosion, I still maintain no body, not actually dead. Now only in his current reintroduction foreshadowing with cover page cups. Sabo's actual foreshadow before his death. There was panel with 3 other cups. Third one just barely peeking in the panel. Yeah. I still say that's not the best foreshadowing in the world. It doesn't really make sense for Luffy not to say at least once, oh, I have brothers, or I know what it's like to lose a brother. Before Ace's death, he could have said that. Or I can relate. If someone next to him was like grieving the loss of a family member, all he could say is, I know what you're feeling. Yeah, but that being said, you also have Luffy, when they're rescuing Robin, saying, like, I know your enemies well, but still. As well as possible foreshadowing with Sabo and his hat glasses being at low tank. Yeah, but we didn't know that, what he would look like as an adult. So, well, no, we had his hat and goggles. Potentially witnesses Luffy's near execution. That's fair. There's little moments, but it's more so on reread than being anything that you can be like, oh, this line that I remember being said is recontextualized now. That's what I mean. Like, if Luffy had said or done something to indicate he had a third brother, that would have been a bit more foreshadowing. Many feel that Sabo Oda was trying to have his cake and eat it too. I don't think so, because clearly he intended it from the beginning. Kill off Ace, but then introduce character may see themselves in Ace. They're completely different characters, so I don't feel like Oda's having his cake and eating it too. Like I said, I just would have liked one little line of even Luffy just saying, I know what it's like to lose somebody. Just something like that. Do you garner any of these feelings? No. Do you feel Sabo is a warranted character as a character in his own merit? Do I feel like he's a character in his own merits? I think he needs to develop a little bit more in terms of what his own goals are. But that being said, I'm fine if his goals are just protect Luffy. Do you think he serves a purpose rather than being Ace 2.0? I do not see him as Ace 2.0. I'm interested to see his role in the in Dragon's Revolution's army people. I'm interested to see on how he's stealing weapons from under Doflamingo's nose. I'm interested to see conflict with the CP people. It's all, I think, him being Luffy's brother is just something additionally added. I feel he would have been a character on its own anyway. You need Dragon's second in command. You need these people stealing the guns. Like, that would have existed whether or not he was Luffy's brother or not. How do you feel about the members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet and how it came to be? I love it so very much. Luffy has a fleet. They are loyal to him, and I love it. And they're all wonderful. Would you agree if I say that Franky versus Senior Pink is manliest fight in One Piece? Thoughts about Gear 4? I love Gear 4. And God Usopp observational haki. I will agree to all. Definitely manliest fight. Love Senior Pink. Love Franky. I love Franky so very much. Love the backstories. Love the fights. Perfect. Gear 4, I've already praised. That moment made me scream. I loved it so very much. And God Usopp and his observational haki was a fantastic addition. I really thought that was a meme. I didn't know God Usopp would be a thing. What were your thoughts on Law before going into Punk Hazard, and do you have any expectations for the rest of the Supernovas? Thoughts were just, he saved my darling baby boy at Marineford, so I love him. The fact that he's called the Surgeon of Death, I love that. Any expectations for the rest of the supernovas? I really want to see, is it Hawkins with the tarot cards? I want to see him fight. I want to see him use his abilities. He's the one I'm most excited for. I love Kid being terrifying, but him having worked with Luffy and Law at Sabo. So I want like an antagonistic, hey, this guy's a crazy mass murderer, but he's useful, so help us out. We have the enemy of my enemy kind of thing. But now they're going after Shanks, so you're not doing that. So I'm interested in all of them, but I don't have any ideas on what they're going to do yet, other than this generation is just going to be causing havoc for the previous generation and reshaping the world. For the better or worse, we don't know. Luffy's emotional intelligence. This man is an idiot, but he understands people so well and what they need, and I love that for him. Like, are you happy? Are you being manipulated? Yes, I'm going to free you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to get you what you need. I love Luffy's emotional intelligence to connect with someone, understand why they're doing something, whether that be Bellamy, whether that be Rebecca. Just, he is so good at that. He doesn't care about the background of what's happening in your history. He cares about right now, what are your dreams? Who is oppressing you? How can I stop it? Are you in a good place? And it's wonderful for his character. What can you say about Fujitora? Will he be on your list? He is not on my list. He is not on my list. He is fine. He's currently after Luffy and them, but that's fine. He respects them. He understands that the world government is in the wrong, and he wants to take down the warlords. So I'm currently fine with Fujitora. Everyone said I'm wrong about him with the blind scars on his eyes also being a reference to Zoro having one loss in his eye. I think it is fun if they both have the same power that involves sacrificing an eye to get. So I'm keeping that as my tinfoil hat theory. I like it. Anything involving Doflamingo is probably going to cover most of what you want foreshadowing-wise. What is your favorite thing in One Piece? Everyone just screaming and coming together and working together to stop the birdcage was great, but also like repeatedly throughout the series, calling for Luffy. Calling for salvation and help, and Luffy answering the call. That is my favorite moment repeatedly in One Piece. Mine is the telephone snails and the newspaper seagulls. Oh, little moments like that. I love the snails. I love that the snails look like is it the person who's calling or the owner? I think it's the person who's calling. So you have like the last snail, you have the Doflamingo snail, the little sunglasses or the hat. I love the aesthetic of the snails. Oh, also Luffy pushing the zombie back into his grave. That is A+. Love that scene. Hilarious. Nothing has topped that, except maybe Law's face with Chopper on his head. Love that. Wanted to bring something from post Marineford. So it was a scene in Logtown with buggies, execution, scene with Luffy. Yeah. We've talked about that. Cover page, foreshadowing, and then the Ace's tattoo being for Ace Sabo, Crybaby Luffy, and Edward Newgate. Yeah, that's been brought up a couple times. Top 10 favorite characters in the series, alive or dead. Also, 10 strongest living characters at this point. Without thinking this through, Whitebeard, Luffy, Robin, all the Straw Hats. They're all together. I love Law. I love so many of the little characters that I'm making a non-Straw Hats favorite character video there. I'll get soon. I loved Ace because I loved grieving him as Luffy's brother and then grieving him as a character. Oh, I loved all of it. I love Mihawk. I love Doflamingo's character writing. I appreciate Garp's writing, even though I hate him for his choices. And I want to see what he's going to do in the future. Like, say Luffy is the one now getting captured. I want to see Garp tear down the world because he's lost one of his grandsons, and that being the tipping point is like, I'm not losing another. And I want to see that. I need to list them out better. So I can't do this one off the top of my head. What do you think about seeing devil fruit being reincarnated? I love that idea. I love that when they die, the devil fruit regrows somewhere in the world and someone else can get that power. So I love that. Regarding Roger is the final villain theory. In Dressrosa, we found out that the Apot fruit, eternal youth, immortality, surgeon. How come you didn't bring this into your Roger theory? I think Roger is dead because I want him to be resurrected. I'm going to make a full tinfoil hat Roger ultimate villain theory. It's in the works. I assume that you would focus on this point since knowing that there's a devil fruit that can literally make someone immortal, you apply that into your theory nicely. That way, Roger may very well be not dead. I want him resurrected. So I think one of his crew members are immortal in order to make sure the plan continues as he wants it. Rather than just stage his execution to start the golden age of piracy and go back raffle of whoever finds the One Piece next. I don't actually subscribe to this theory myself. I'm happy to call your attention to it since you didn't mention it in part 2 so far. Wild and wacky theories people come up with make One Piece all the more fun. Agree. So I'm going to make a full tinfoil hat theory of what I think Roger being the final big bad villain will be like, and it will include the immortality aspect. What do you think of the relationship Law's past with Doflamingo? I really liked his past. Just like those little moments of them being a genuine family. Like as a child, I kind of expected at the time like a teenager joining the family, like once he was established, but to see that they raised him and the little moments with him and Baby Five and Buffalo, like I loved it. And now his history and losing KUZAN and wanting to kill him and revenge for it and live his life being an extension of KUZAN's will and legacy. Oh, I loved it. I did notice how similar their Jolly Rogers were, so I'm excited. I was very happy to see that play it well. That was perfect foreshadowing. I didn't realize it till after we started comparing. Like I seen that there was a connection, and then I could tell the similarities between their Jolly Rogers really came to the front of my mind. But I did say a couple times, "Oh, that looks familiar." Oh, now that you're in Dressrosa, where are the villains on your hit list? That's a good question. What is the order now? I gotta rethink if Doofy just jumped to the top of the hit list, or if KUZAN jumped to the top for betraying me for Blackbeard. That's a very good question. We will work on that. I will get back to you. Parallels between Dressrosa and Alabasta. 100% Dressrosa would have been what Crocodile made. Dressrosa is what Crocodile would have made Alabasta. And just a succession of it. Definitely a good parallel there. Are you happy with the dragon? Yes, I'm very happy that we got a dragon. I love Momonosuke, and I love his design. I love that he's pink, and I'm very excited to see where we're going to go with him and his story, because they're after him, so there's a reason for that, and I'm excited to learn what that reason is. All right, that is the end of the questions. I will talk to you later. I got a lot of editing to do, because the questions itself took a little longer. All right,